All right, hey folks, I wanted to get this review out of the way for this particular pistol I'm about to go over right now before I went and tried to move it or sell it, because after a little more consideration, I figured, yeah, I don't really need to keep this pistol around in the collection, so I will try to move it at some point. But I hope all the folks there in the States have had a great Labor Day so far. I certainly have. But let's get right down to it. So I'm at a different angle here to kind of move things around, and we'll try and see how this works out. So to start, I have some, I think it's called Glenmorangie 10-year. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Pretty nice Scotch. It's kind of clear for Scotch, but you know, it's good stuff. And the pistol we are reviewing in question today is this Walther PPK 380, imported by Interarms. Now, if you notice on my channel, I did upload some shooting footage of me with this pistol, and just to kind of give you guys an idea sort of how it handles, how it shoots and recoils and all that stuff. I will say, this being an all-steel frame gun as it is, the recoil is a little bit punishing because this is a direct blowback, and it is in 380, not 32, like how this gun was designed to be shot with. And let's just say it kicks your hand up a little bit. It's not a gun that you're going to be putting, you know, 100, 200 rounds through in one sitting, and your hand will still be comfortable after. Now, you'll probably get through about 50 and say, you know what, I'm done shooting this thing. Which isn't to say it's a bad gun at all, by any means, because as we know, Walther makes really excellent pistols. So this one has already been safety checked and cleared and all that stuff. So yeah, a little bit of history of these. So due to the import laws of the United States, the regular PPKs that were originally made back in Germany, they did not meet the point system that the United States decided to implement for these guns to qualify as a sporting purpose firearm, right? So it was too small, and it was too light, I think. No, it wasn't too light. It was basically too small, but there was a point system in there, and the PPK originally did not meet it. So Walther came out with what they call the PPK/S. Now the S model is different in that the grip length here is actually full length as it would be with the regular Walther PP pistol, but they still kept the short barrel. So you have a longer grip, short barrel. It's kind of like a Glock 19X, same idea where they kept a longer grip, but the short barrel. So that is the version you will most likely see nowadays, is PPK/S. But this is a regular old PPK, little tiny thing in 380. So you know, the PP design has been around for, gosh, I think the 20s, and it's been a very successful pistol for Walther. Very, very popular for a lot of reasons. It's really well built. It's a nice, you know, it's a small pistol. I mean, this is absolutely tiny, but it's still really good construction. The trigger is excellent. It's a double single action with a slide mounted decocker right here, and also a safety, so disengage that. And if you cock it like that, so now it's cocked in single action, you pull this lever down, bam, decocker. Now you notice too, it keeps the trigger back until you push the safety forward, and then bam, trigger comes forward. So that's pretty cool. With these pistols, most of them are going to be the magazine release is going to be this button right here. Push that, releases the mag. And other than that, there are no external controls on this pistol, which means you don't have a slide lock release lever anywhere on this gun, which makes it a little interesting to handle at the range if you're not familiar with this kind of weapon. Yeah, so it being a direct blowback gun means that there's no tilting barrel in this system like a lot of other Browning pistols are. This is simply just a big heavy mass slide with a very, very heavy recoil spring sitting around the barrel here on the outside. And I'll just, actually, you know, I'll take it apart just to show you. So, to take this apart, it takes a little bit of finessing and a little bit of finagling out. So, to help with that, I like to cock it first, so that way it's easier to move the slide here. But this recoil spring is very, very heavy. So, it's despite its small size, it's actually really, really hard to get a good grip on this thing and actually pull it back all the way. So to take us down, your trigger guard here will actually come down. So if you pull down like that, you have this little bar here that moves out of the way. And what I like to do is I like to put my finger right in the way there to keep it out of the way. And then what you do is pull this thing all the way back, and then, oof, okay, it's a little hard to do. Pull all the way back, lift it up in the back, and then pull it off, just like that. And then you can let the trigger guard forward, just like that. So now you have your slide and assembly. That takes a bit of finessing because that recoil spring right there is very, very, very strong, and it needs to be for this gun to operate correctly. So, as you can see, this is a fixed barrel design. There's a lot in here. Fixed barrel design, so it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't move at all, which really, really helps for accuracy when it comes to this gun. And I can personally attest to that because when I first fired my very first PPK in 380, it wasn't this gun, it was my buddy's gun. We had a like a human-sized silhouette target at 100, and I said, you know, let me see if I can hit that thing from here with this little PPK, right? And he says, yeah, go for it. And so I'm sitting there taking my time, and then all 6 shots that I fire, very, very slowly, very carefully, all of them were within torso area of a human-sized target at 100 yards with this little dinky gun, you know, offhand, not even bent, just standing up, just taking my time, you know, and they all hit within a torso. So to me, that is that's pretty impressive for a tiny little gun like this. And that's what basically sold it to me. After that day, I decided, you know, I need to get one of these things. So I did. But yeah, that's the takedown right there. And here's the inside of the slide here. Very, very basic. There's not a whole lot going on in here. It's just a big heavy mass that is kept, you know, in place by that heavy recoil spring. And yeah, that's the way this thing works. It's just the sheer force and weight of the slide and the recoil spring holding against the breech face here, keeping it closed. So when these things recoil, they tend to recoil quite a bit. Now you're thinking, oh well, it's 380, it can't recoil that bad, right? Yes and no. So there isn't necessarily a whole lot of recoil in total, but the fact that this is an all-steel framed gun, it's very small, and there's not a whole lot of room for the mass and energy to go. It goes directly into your hand, and it's punishing to say the least. So yeah, not the most comfortable thing in the world to shoot, but I will say the triggers on these are pretty phenomenal for a small pocket gun. Single and double action both very, very good. Not, you know, no complaints there at all. So let me get this thing back together carefully, I might add. So you notice the recoil spring here is belled out a little bit on the end, and that's so that way it captures on the inside there on the front. So let's try this out. Just like that, and you're good to go. So yeah. What else to say about this? So, personally for me, out of the 2 importers for these pistols, there's Interarms and then there's Smith & Wesson, I believe. The Smith & Wesson ones have a much longer beaver tail right here. It sticks out a lot more. And depending on who you ask in the PPK or PP community, the Smith & Wessons are not as good quality as the Interarms one, and I kind of tend to agree on that after handling a few examples of Smith & Wesson PPKs versus Interarms PPKs. But now, of course, Walther in 2019 has started coming out with their own made PPKs, the ones made here in the States, because they have a factory location set up here now to do that. It only took them, oh god, I don't know how many years, but at least they're finally getting their stuff together and actually making these PPK, I want to say PPK-S's here in the States, and that's pretty awesome to me, because so many people have wanted these classic guns, you know, but they want new versions of them, because the only ones that you can find, or well, the only ones you could find for the longest time were the Interarms and the Smith & Wesson ones. And those are kind of old, you know, they've been in the country a while, so people wanted new ones. And the new ones, I have seen some of them in shops. They are every bit as good as the Interarms ones, from what I can tell. And they also redid the finishes. The stainless finish is actually a little bit different on the newer Walther USA produced PPKs, PPKSs. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like more stainless. It's shinier, it looks cleaner, it looks new, you know. Not to say that these current, you know, models don't look great, because I mean, look at that. That's just shiny. It's like, you know, that just looks good. You know, these have a timeless look to them, if you ask me. So, you know, it's just the new ones coming out, I think, are pretty good quality. So if you manage to find one for a pretty good price, I would say, you know, go ahead and pick it up, because these are excellent, timeless, classic pistols. They just work. They're you know, maybe a little bit pricier and kind of out of date in terms of, like, well, you know, if you're looking for a deep concealment 380 pistol, I would probably not recommend this one, because it is so heavy. You know, it's going to be burning a hole in your pocket, or whatever holster you have sitting in there. It's just going to be just sinking down, and you'll feel it, definitely. You will not forget that this thing is on your person. Trust me, I've tried. So, you know, there are better options out there for a deep concealment 380. One of them being like a Ruger LCP2, awesome pistol. You know, I would take that for practical reasons over this pistol pretty much any day. But in terms of like craftsmanship and like quality and, like, you know, how long this thing is going to last versus a plastic gun, you know, this thing is just, it's just timeless, you know. And as always, it's the James Bond gun, right? Who can deny how cool that is, right? You know, his was a PPK non-S model in 32, if I understand it correctly, and this one's in 380. So it's not exactly, you know, a James Bond gun, but it's pretty close, right? So it fulfills the niche, you know. And yeah, so I seem to have an unhealthy obsession when it comes to Walther pistols. I don't know, I just like them. They're just really good, and they're just cool. So I mean, nobody can deny that these are cool little pieces. So yeah, super accurate, great. You know, I wouldn't say necessarily the greatest thing to shoot, but they do have really good triggers. You know, the quality of them is there's no question about it. These are excellent pieces. You know, there's plenty of grip options you can get. You can get wooden grips, you can get rubber grips, you can get whatever you want. Makes for a nice little gun, and you know, despite all the other, I guess, flaws that go with it, you know, being the kind of gun that it is, namely the super heavy recoil spring, the kind of weird takedown, the lack of controls on the outside, you know, being a little bit different from what we're used to. It's still a really nice piece, and I kind of don't want to move it, but at the same time, I already have a Walther PP in 32, the caliber that this gun was designed to shoot from the start. So I already have another example of a PP pistol. I don't really need this one, so I will be trying to move it at some point, and you know, hopefully someone else can enjoy it as much as I have in the brief amount of time that I've owned it. So. Yeah, if you're looking for one of these, absolutely have no doubt, although I would stay away from the Smith & Wesson models. I would absolutely stick with the Interarms or the brand new Walther USA produced PPKSs. So yeah, awesome little gun, definitely recommend it. And you know, if you can find a PPK versus a PPKS, even better if you want the really small tiny package, because the PPKSs are a little bit larger and they're a little bit more common too. So just something to keep in mind. The regular PPKs, the little tiny ones, are a little less common. So if the guy's asking a little bit more for it, then that's probably why. So, but yeah, hope you all like that review. This whole different angle and everything. We'll see how this pans out, and maybe I'll do some more. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.